Hi there, I hope you're all doing well. This week I came across a longbowman in my to-do pile, so I figured I'd try out a Bretonnian paint scheme. This mini is clearly 3D printed from Highland miniatures, and he was black and white zenithally primed, and I get started with reddish grey for the tunic, which eventually is going to look white in the end. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments below. You could also join Discord using the link in the description, where you can share anything you have been working on. To start pushing the tunic towards the white, I used warm grey as the mid-tone. Went over the majority of that tunic again, just leaving a darker tone where there would be shadows. Finishing up the tunic, I grabbed Grimy grey and went over all of the tips of the folds, just where the light will be hitting. With the tunic done, I moved on to the padding, which gets a once over of hull red as the base layer. Bringing all of the pads up to make them stand out a bit more, I went over them with burnt red, just leaving that darker tone between the pads. Finishing up the padding, I went for all the tops of the pads with Gory red, just to try and make them look a bit more rounded like they would be. For all of the remaining clothing, I wanted to keep these dark, so I gave them a base coat of Death Reaper. The first highlight on the black gets done with Dungeon Stone Grey. Finishing off the darker clothing, I added a final edge highlight with Carcharodon Grey. . Now to get started on some of the smaller details, starting off with the skin. This gets a base coat of Kronos flesh. All the remaining leather parts and the base get a quick once over or burnt umber. The wooden parts and the wrist guard that I forgot about get done with Gyzmo fur. Adding a highlight to this skin, I went for Elven skin, just over all of the raised parts. To highlight up the leather parts and the bulk of the shield, I grabbed Paladin flesh. This gives it that bit of that red tint that kind of blends it with that padding a bit more. Finishing up the wooden parts, I added a bit of a highlight with Cork brown. For the bow, this is a bit more of a scratchy highlight to kind of look like raw wood. For the metal parts, I used Cerakote silver on all of them. To get started on the washes, everything but the tunic and the darker clothing gets washed with flesh wash. The second wash is dark tone wash over just the darker clothing. I decided not to wash the tunic as it came out kind of how I want it already, and I think a wash would ruin that. To finish up, I added some muddy ground to the base just to get ready for those grass tufts. And that will be it for the Archer. It's not as bright and in your face as some of the schemes you see out there, but I think this gives a bit more of a grittiness to medieval combat like you really should have. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments below. You can also join Discord using the link in the description, where you can share anything you have been working on. As always, if you want a closer look at this mini, check out my Instagram page. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Most importantly though, be kind to each other.